What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the Formula Global podcast, and we're doing a little Christmas special. And I'm here with Tom's
Hey, what's up? Merry Christmas.
and Adam.
Hey guys, Merry Christmas.
So we decided to do a little something different for the holidays. So we're just gonna have a little podcast and call it a holiday special. So
Sounds good.
I think we just dive in. You guys there's been a lot of talk with Mercedes, who's going to be the driver and stuff, and I think we kind of know the direction they're going.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it seems like it's everywhere. What's happening? It seems like the teams are just waiting to confirm it. But Tom's, give us the lowdown.
Well, apparently, before I even get to it, I hope everybody enjoys my very Formula One-esque background. So, but, I got a soft spot for basketball as well. But anyway, so Felipe Massa, the guy who said he was going away, seems to be back right now and seems to be kind of happy about it. The point is, when he left, when he ended his career, he felt content with it, but you could see that if there was an opportunity, he would have liked to continue. That was the impression I got personally. Mm-hmm. And now that he's back, clearly what's going on, the reason for it is because Mercedes wanted Bottas. So Bottas seems to be the one who's going to fill in for Nico next season. So an open seat opens up. Now, for Williams, it is very important that they get an experienced driver in, because when they have this, I think, is 18-year-old Lance Stroll kid from Canada, mm-hmm. right? He's a new guy, talented guy, but he's 18 years old. He's very new to this Formula One thing, and with the new regulations and everything, you want somebody with experience. The point is, however, and the problem is that there are not so many experienced drivers out there. So what you can do is you can get back a guy who just retired, 37 years old, Felipe Massa, experienced, been there. He knows the team very well. He knows Formula One very well. Obviously, he's been there for 15 freaking years, and he's just a great option. I think he's very happy to do it. I think Williams are happy that he's accepted this offer, and I think for Williams, a team, they just apparently have gotten Paddy Lowe as well. We talked about it previously. Paddy Lowe is someone who looks like he's going to be there. They have some very good assets at the team right now, and they're just building up for the future. And I think Felipe will be a nice addition. He will help out not just Lance Stroll, to get accustomed to Formula One, but he'll also help the team a lot, I think. And he has helped the team a lot over these years. He's been there, and I'm very, very happy about that. And one quick point I also want to mention is, I see this on social media a lot, on Twitter. A lot of guys, a lot of people, a lot of Formula One fans, they are a bit pissed about Felipe coming back. They say, when are these new guys going to get a chance? Well, first of all, those same people who are complaining about Felipe a few weeks ago were writing things like, "Oh my God, I'm going to miss him so much. Felipe, thank you for all these years." And now it's like, why are you back, right? But that's a bit comical. But I think that what we have to understand is, Formula One is a results industry, just like any other sport, just like hockey, basketball, football, whatever. And you want to make sure as a team you can get the most out of your car, the most out of your opportunities, right? You want to be in the position where you can get the most that you can get. And I think Felipe offers that. He has that experience. Of course, he's not the same as he was, let's say, from 2008 to 2013 when he was with Ferrari, competing for championships, winning races. Of course not. But I think it's very important that we understand that these teams, they look for someone who will bring them the best results. And experience can influence these results. And if you bring in two young guys like Lance Stroll and another youngster, yeah, you bring in new faces, but you are at the risk that you're not going to get the results you could possibly get. With Felipe, he can help you with that. He can make that transition period smoother, because I don't think Felipe is going to be there for more than 1 year, right? So I wanted to mention that as well. That let's just not get carried away about these young drivers, coming in or not coming in. Bottom line is teams got to take care of themselves. They got to make sure that what happens, it happens for the best for them, right? So that's another thing I wanted to mention. But go ahead, guys. What do you think?
So I agree, Toms, with most of what you said. I think that Felipe is being brought back so that he can help develop the car in a way that Lance Stroll can't, because he doesn't have the experience doing that. Yep. So I think for next season, having Patty Lowe, having Felipe there to be able to give feedback on the car and what its strengths and weaknesses are, is going to help Williams next year, but it's also going to help them, since this is going to be the rules package going forward for the foreseeable future. It's going to help them develop for the years after Felipe is not there. And I think he is only going to be there 1 year, and then they'll bring someone else along. I think it's a good move. I think had Felipe left it how it ended at Brazil, I think it would have been perfect. Because you can't get a much better ending. Of course, him crashing wasn't perfect, but him getting to walk up the pit lane and have the fans applaud him and all the teams come out was good. But I'm glad he's back, because I think he is a first-class driver and an even better person. And actually wrote an article about that. So I think it's a good move for Williams, and I honestly think that Williams probably didn't have another play that they could make either, because of the position that if they had Bottas, a more veteran driver, they wouldn't have had to do anything. It was fine. But with Mercedes calling and it looks like Bottas is going to go, then I think that they did pretty much the only move that they, the only move they had available to them was Massa. And I think it's the correct move. Andrew?
Yeah. You've seen it in, the past that in my opinion, I think the best combination of drivers is a youngster and an experienced driver. Mm-hmm. Just for the fact that the experienced driver acts more like a mentor, knows exactly what's going on, knows the dynamics of the team, but might not be as quick as the young driver coming in, just for the fact that, you start to go off with age. And so I just think it's a perfect combination. I think it's the right play on Williams, because I think, as much as we've kind of mentioned their mediocrity in the past 2 years, I do think that they are trying to regain their position at the top of the grid, especially now that they still have Mercedes power. They have the new Aero kits coming along, and they announced, I think it was like Bahrain or something, that they've been working on this car since the second or third race.
Sure.
So it's going to be, I think, bringing Massa back is just the perfect play. Anything but you could have got maybe Jensen, but he's already tied in with McLaren. But
sure.
Paul Di Resta was at their test driver, but.
Paul Di Resta, I have nothing against it. I think he's a good driver. But in terms of just outright experience, I think there's very few that are there with Felipe, that have driven all the different types of cars, that know how each team dynamic works. He's been with good teams. So I think if you need to teach somebody that they think Lance Stroll's the future, then I don't think there's anyone better to do that.
Right.
And it's going to be good. I personally enjoy watching Felipe race, and to get to see him for 20 more races, dude, be my guest. I love it. So it's going to be good.
Say Williams is extremely competitive next year, because you don't know. I know. Yeah. I think we might be getting a little amped up with who's actually going to this is gonna turn, and it's gonna be completely different season. I think it's going to be somewhat similar. I think it might bunch up the field a little bit, but you never know. If Felipe Massa hasn't gotten a podium since 2014, I believe.
Right.
Yes.
It's nice to see him back up there, or even a race win. And now he gets another shot at Brazil. So
yeah. I mean, if they really did transition to working on the new car that early, who knows, man? The first couple of races could be really interesting for Williams.
I think the beginning of the season, like because Australia is always, it takes a couple of races to kind of get used to who's actually going to be competitive throughout the whole season.
Sure.
So I think those first few races are just going to be chaotic.
It's going to be chaos. It is. It's going to be chaos adjusting to that new rules package for everyone. New tires. I'm interested. One point, and I promise not to go off topic too much, but with the new tires and the sausage curbs, I just wonder how that's going to go, because we saw how they reacted last year with Kvyat. So in that size tire, I don't know.
And Nico as well in Austria.
Right. So just something to look at in 2017. But back to Felipe, I think it's a good move. Tom's hit the nail on the head. I think everybody wants to see Felipe back. And I think Williams has a chance at being really good. Now, looking past next year and who they'll bring in, that'll get interesting too, to see what kind of opens up. But for next year, I think Williams has played it pretty smart.
Yeah, I agree.
Well, for the future, I mean, guys like Felipe Massa, who was with them, he's another opportunity, because the thing is, Bernie was actually very keen on getting another Brazilian driver on the grid, because Brazil is a big market and you have this Grand Prix, and because Felipe Massa doesn't look like he's going to be there next year on a permanent deal, at least. Getting Felipe was also important from the business standpoint, and we know how much influence Bernie has on these teams, and how his interests have to sort of align with teams' interests in a way, not maybe fully, but to a certain extent in certain situations. It's important that the FIA and so F1 and the teams, they're on the same page.
Sure.
You understand what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So I think that that was also a key aspect in this, and it works out. See, it works out great in many different aspects. So it's just going to be interesting to see Williams. I really, really hope to see them being competitive, because this team is too good. They have too much great of a history. Williams is one of those teams that has been there for years, and it's just like Ferrari, just like McLaren. Williams is one of the teams I personally would love to see being up there. Maybe not win championships every year. Maybe not be competitive every year. That's fine. But to be in the conversation and to have some sort of a vision, some sort of way that you see that you want to sort of make in the future, right?
Right.
I would love to see that with Williams, and I think that Felipe he's very interested in that. I think Felipe will try to do everything he can to help this team, and we'll see what happens. Now, will they be competitive? Will they compete with the likes of Mercedes, Red Bull, Ferrari? Who knows? Most likely not, but you never know. I'm telling you, this Formula One world, it can throw you a lot of curveballs, man. You can wind up in Australia and you have the grid hole, upside down.
Yep.
So I don't think it's going to happen.
Look what happened to Haas this year.
Sure.
Absolutely.
Started off as sky high and just kind of, tapered out a little bit. Which, as a first year team, that's great. But you just see the amount. You're like, are they really going to be this good? And no, they cemented where they were going to be in the mid pack. And they had their problems. So,
I think I may have called a podium for them at the beginning of the year. Whoops.
We had a lot of see, we just forget about it. So it's
that's right.
It didn't happen.
Yeah.
Didn't happen on my screen.
It happened in F1, my game.
I will lay down an early marker though for who replaces Felipe if he does leave after this year, and I think it's going to be Carlos Sainz.
Oh, I love that.
I think Carlos Sainz goes to Williams and Gasly comes to Toro Rosso.
Makes sense.
Yep. Because now Gasly's been moved to.
He was linked to Williams, I think.
He was, and and Gasly has been moved to
Super Formula.
Super Formula. Thank you. Yeah. Yep. So he's following kind of the same path that Wehrlein did.
Yeah.
So.
Or Van Dorn. Was it Van Dorn who went to Super Formula?
Oh,
Yeah,
sorry. Yes, Van Dorn. Not
Van Dorn. Yeah.
We knew what you meant.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, I think another topic we wanted to mention was we wanted to start our team reviews of the season, and kind of just go through all the teams and kind of what did you think of their season, their drivers, their performances, and their future. And so, where do you guys want to start?
I think we want to do kind of reverse grid, start at the back and work our way forward. I mean, I think the top three are pretty established. You know, people know who finished there, but once you get towards the back of the grid, you kind of lose track of where people were in the seasons they had.
And I'm not necessarily thinking that the points finishes are going to be, you know, where I want to rank them.
Sure.
So it's going to, or where, you know, personally I want to rank them. So
Sure.
It's going to be interesting to see what, you know, everyone thinks.
Yep. So, yeah, I mean, we can
Manor?
start with Manor. And Andrew, why do you not have your Manor clothes on?
Yeah,
It's your day.
Where's your
I know,
robot?
right? My beer line cap. I got like a whole Manor. I have the shirt thing, the jacket, the hat. I love.
Your
I
signed
actually,
Esteban Ocon business card.
yeah, it's actually in my room. I handed him my my business card because they all give out these flyers, but
Yeah.
I just had my own stuff, so I handed him my business card and he signed it. And the face he gave me, because he had like this little card, and I gave it to him, and he's just like, you know. So it was really cool meeting him and everything. So,
Yep.
yeah, I think
Let's start with Manor.
Yeah. So,
Kick us off, Andrew.
okay.
It's your team.
I don't know. I've always had a soft spot for Manor, just because they've gone through more. Well, they've gone through as much as veteran F1 teams have in just those, you know, small years. You know, coming out, I don't know, when was it? Was it 2011? I think was Virgin.
2010 with Virgin.
2010 is Virgin.
Yep.
And then, you know, becoming Marussia, and then
HRT.
what was that?
With the HRT as well.
HRT was a different one, I think.
Yeah,
Were they different?
Were-
Okay.
Yeah.
But going through Virgin, Marussia, Manor, Marussia, now Manor, you know, almost going in what 6 years, and then going bankrupt after you know, after the 2014 season, and
Right.
just being saved. And they had good drivers. It was just the team was never extremely competitive. And it looked promising in 14 with Chilton and Jules. I think they had a very good shot. I think that team was, you know, on the up and up, kind of how this one looks right now to me.
Sure.
And now having the Mercedes power and kind of being a junior team to Mercedes AMG is, you know, you can't get any better from, you know, an any better relationship rather than the Red Bull Toro Rosso. So I don't know. I think they finished last on the points with Wehrlein's point in Austria,
Right.
but I would rank them above Sauber. And just for the sole fact that they seemed to get more out of the car than Sauber did.
Mhm.
Granted, Sauber had financial issues, but I just think that with the driver swap with Harriento and having Wehrlein stay there and, you know, testing out their new drivers, looking towards the future, and you can tell that Mercedes or that Manor has power. So I think looking forward, will they be competitive next season? I think they might move up a couple places.
Yep.
I don't know if they'll be at the back, but I think they have potential. And, you know, I'm going to grade this season for them as actually a big success. I'm going to give them, we'll go by, I guess, grades. I'm
Sure.
going to give them a solid B. I think they did, or a B plus. I think they did great from what they had.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't think that's a bad call. Tom's, you're up next.
Am I up next? Okay.
Wake up.
Oh, really? But as we speak, I just opened up an article about Ron Dennis, and who's ready to take over Manor because obviously he's not with McLaren anymore, and it looks like he's going to be very involved with Manor. But that's beside the point. We'll get into that later, perhaps in later podcasts. I just want to get that out there because, Ron Dennis, if he's interested in some team like Manor, I don't think he's interested to be there with them as the backmarker team. I think he has some interests with them to maybe not make them as a championship team, but to make them into a pretty solid team. But we'll have to wait and see what is his role exactly, how his interests work with the team and whatever. As far as this past season, right? Yeah, I think is the fact that they got the Mercedes engines and the fact that they have these Mercedes youngsters in the team, I think is very, very important for them. I think it's a sign of stability, I guess you can say, that maybe in the past they didn't have. Because I look back at 2015, that Manor Marussia, I still have no idea how they even managed to get that car on the grid. Because it pretty much was a 2014 car. It was a 2014 car with, running up against 2015 cars. And in Australia, they didn't even make it to the grid.
Right.
Bahrain, they started to be there, but they were like 5-6 seconds apart. Yeah. It wasn't serious, but it was good that they were in the sport, because if you would lose two teams in matter of one off season, like with Caterham and them, that would have been bad. I don't care that these teams are backmarkers. You have to make sure that the teams and manufacturers that come in, they're able to stay, that they have conditions that allow them to keep developing, to take small steps as much as big steps. A small step through the eyes of a big team could be a big step for the small team, right? So I think it is very important that they're still even on the grid, which a couple of years ago seemed very unlikely at one point. That being said, it is difficult for me to really talk about their future. How competitive will they be? Because I guess I'm more skeptical in that sense, because they don't seem. I'm not sure how the best way to put it is, but I would be very surprised if they'd be able to take that next step and really be up there with teams like Haas and Toro Rosso, and being that midfield, maybe lower midfield teams. Because that they will still, I would say, most likely be living off the pay drivers. They will have some youngsters coming in through the Mercedes system. Now, with everything going on at Mercedes, looks like Pascal has been put in a very difficult position because foreseeing they got Ocon. And it would have been logical for Mercedes to bring in Pascal, but he's too young. And now he's sort of in the middle, and he doesn't have really a good drive, because to me, with all due respect to Manor, I think he's too good for that team. But there are not many options for him, so I think he has a right to be pissed a little bit. But in terms of their competition with Sauber, I understand totally what Andrew means. I agree with him in the sense that they were able to get those results. They were able to get most out of the car, but in the long run, I would still say that Sauber did deserve that 10th place. They got very, very unlucky in many race weekends. I think that they really worked for that 10th spot. In Brazil, when they got it with Felipe Massa on that 9th place, I think he was brilliant there, and they deserved it. But overall, I still think that Manor, they made the most out of what they could. I think they had that Mercedes engine helped a lot. They were very quick in straight line. You saw it in the speed traps. They were always up there. In tracks where it was a shorter lap time and you had more straights, like in Austria where Pascal got his points, it was lucky, but the car was working very well. So if they're able to add to that in the aerodynamic side, who knows? Maybe they are competitive. I'm just I just don't see that happening in a very near future, but who knows? So overall, I think Manor, they definitely were a lot better in 2015, obviously. They were able to close the gap a little bit. They were able to compete with these other backmarkers like Sauber, like Renault.
Yep.
They deserve credit for it. I think they're an easy team to support because they have that underdog vibe about them.
Mhm.
They're like a very blue collar team that they work
Sure.
very hard. They try to make the most out of their opportunities. So it is cool. In Formula One, there isn't a team that I don't like. I like every single team. I like every single team. I like almost every single driver. And it's good to see that we have 11 teams on the grid. It's good that Manor is one of them. And if I had to rate them, I'll go B plus.
Gotcha. So my take on it, and I'll touch on a couple of points that Tom's made first before I get into it, but I think Wehrlein is going to be even better next year, not only from an experience perspective, but now he's got a little bit of fire lit under him because
Yep.
I think if he was going to Mercedes, we would have heard something the day, if not the day of, the day after, that Mercedes would have said, Pascal is the obvious choice. He's coming in. He's our guy. And that hasn't happened, which tells me it's not going to happen. And then we've had the reports come out since that Bottas is going. So it's not often that you have 3 drivers in one team in a season. Well, that's what happened with Manor this year, with Haryanto making a few starts and then getting the boot, and Esteban Ocon coming in. I don't think Haryanto was a very good driver for them. I think Ocon and Wehrlein was a stronger lineup, and I think it shows because now Ocon has moved on to a better team. As far as the season they had, though, I agree 100% with Andrew. I think that you could see improvements, and they've done well at attracting talent from other teams to come in and help them. They've got technical directors, and they've got engineers, and I think it's definitely helped the car. With that being said, we got to see them live at the U.S. Grand Prix, and they have a lot of ground to make up before they're competitive in the midfield with those cars, because they could go down the straight, but as soon as they got to a turn, it was over. So they have some ground to make up. But I do think that this coming season, especially with the information sharing that seems like it's probably happening between Merck and them, I think that they can make a pretty good jump. I think they'll definitely be above Sauber. Sauber, you never know what's going to happen because there's always reports of financial issues with them. So half the time, I think there were questions this season of were they actually going to be on the grid when Australia rolled around. They were to testing late. They had issues. They didn't think they were going to make it. They didn't pay their employees for the first couple of races. I remember reports about that. So I think Manor will jump them. They have a new owner. It seems like it's a more stable platform now to build off of.
Ron Dennis, if he's going there for real,
Yep. I mean, things look like they're on the up and up. As far as this season, I'm going to give them an A because I don't think that they could have done any more than what they did, and only lost out on that constructor's place in the last race because of the drive of Felipe Massa. Otherwise, they had it. They had it in the bag. So
it was lucky, though, I think, in my opinion. But still, it counts,
Sure. Yeah. I mean,
I think
sometimes you got to have it go your way a little bit.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Right. I think luck is a part of any sport, and I mean, if it benefits you, then you don't argue with it.
That's right. Sometimes it's better be lucky than good. So
yeah.
But yeah, I think just overall, I think they had as good of season as they could have expected to have. I think that truly, if you ask them, I think they would be, delighted with the season they had because of how much ground they know and everybody else knows that they have to make up to be competitive. And I think this next season they'll make a good jump.
Well, to make up, they had the Mercedes power, so it helped. But to make up 4 seconds,
in
a year is pretty ridiculous, especially in how technical F1 is. So like as it now. So I don't know. I think it's I think they have I don't know if they have a very successful future, but I think they have a promising future in the sport. Like
they have a base. They have a base.
They do.
And with longevity in it.
Yes.
So.
I do honestly think that they can get to the point where they would be competing for 9th or 10th spot every week. I don't think that's a stretch.
No, I don't think it is either, and I don't think it is for any of the backmarker teams.
Right.
You looked at a few years ago, Sauber was extremely competitive.
Yep.
We're getting podiums with Perez.
Right. And I mean, look at when they had Robert Kubica. I mean, they won a race. So it's I think, I would not even classify Renault as a backmarker, but just having you have Renault, Haas, Sauber, Manor. You finally have these teams that are backmarkers, but they have potential. It's not like HRT, where you just HRT or Caterham when they're just like there's just no improvement that you can really see. Yeah.
Yep.
So.
Yep. Yeah, I think next year again with the technical changes, and we don't know when Manor switched over and started. They may have known from the beginning of 2016 that hey, this car is not going to be very good, but wait till 2017. We know the regulations now. Mercedes has given us information, and they may have a pretty good package out of the gate. And it's Australia, like we just said. They may finish 6th or 7th in the race. You just never know.
The good point that you guys made is about how they're able to attract these workers, these engineers, these directors to the team, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's also, helpful that you can do that because, well, you may have the drivers, but you also have to give them something to drive with. And if you can attract, good guys with experience, good guys that know how to make it, that know what it takes to sort of exploit some things a la Ross Brown, right? If you can get those guys in, who knows? Because at the end of the day, like I said, it's a results industry. And if you at the end of the season have 3 points and your competitors have 2 or 1, you're going to get more money. You're going to be in a better position, and you're going to be up in the standings. So you're still a back marker, but you're the best of the rest. So
sure, no, absolutely, and I think that's a good point too, Tom's, because when you say money, it makes it known that they do have money to go out and attract those people. Where before it was a pretty skeleton crew, but now they're bringing in people who is going to take probably a pretty hefty paycheck to get them to come over. And they have the money to do that, and it seems like they probably have the money to do R&D. I think that as long as they stay, the current owner isn't taking too big of a hit, hopefully with the racing team, I think that they have a really good platform to go off of moving forward. So, I think next year.
And also when we talk about money, when we say not a lot of money, it's still a lot of money, just not a lot of money in terms of Formula One. It's still a lot of money.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
And you always have to think that. Well, what I always believe, I always like the underdog kind of story and the teamwork that goes into some of these teams, especially the backmarker teams, because they're doing so much more for less.
Sure.
And so they're having to try to compete with the likes of Ferrari and Mercedes, which have more money than God. And they're basically getting handouts. So it's and to score points, even in itself is it feels like a victory, because you look at the difference, and we've talked about it before how maybe it needs to be it definitely needs to be orchestrated a little bit more evenly.
Yes.
And I think it's fine if you have the same prize money kind of deal, to go to all the teams, just so that you do have more competitiveness, because you always know that the top teams are going to be top. They're not going to stay down. You look at McLaren, you think they're happy where they're at. They're going to they're going to do everything it takes to come back and smoke all these guys.
Mm-hmm.
So to have the backmarker teams not have that money and still get results like Sauber had, it's 1 or 2 races, but I mean, that's
Yeah.
what you're working towards.
Yeah.
So
Absolutely.
it's nice.
Yep.
It's that blue collar approach, you know,
Yeah.
that we talked about.
It is.
That people can relate to. Guys that don't really follow Formula One, they can see that hard working. And that's kind of like in rally, like in WRC, where you have these blue collar sort of racing, right?
Right.
You understand what I'm saying?
Mhm.
So you can see that sort of atmosphere within these, you know, backmarker teams,
Sure.
right?
Hashtag
So that's what, yeah. You, you're able to attract fans that way. So
Right.
fans are more
Yeah.
interested in that. So that's why they have such a large support base, because they understand, you know, we follow Formula One, you understand how difficult it is, and that
Sure.
it's simply impossible for 22 cars to compete for a race victory. I would freaking love if that was the case. I
Mhm.
mean, god damn, 22 cars for a win, that would be awesome. But man, it's not possible, right?
Right.
So for them, it really is, like Andrew said, for them, getting P10 is equivalent for Mercedes to get a 1-2, right?
Right.
It's just different expectations, but the gratitude and the self-belief that you gain from those situations, that you're able to work hard and get these results, that's awesome,
Yep.
you know? So
Absolutely. But okay, I think one more topic that I want to bring up before we kind of wrap it up is, did you guys see where Ferrari, Sergio, and I'm going to butcher the last name, so please forgive me.
Marchione?
Yeah, Marchione. So he has said that Alfa Romeo could come back as like a junior Ferrari team into Formula One. Please,
Nice.
please. Any Christmas present that someone wants to get me, that would be the best one. Just let that happen.
That would be awesome.
Yeah.
I think that is the sport, and then just having, you know, the Italians, like, you know how like pumped up Monza is going to be, like the Italian country. I think that would even get, I think, potentially Imola back on the calendar, which I think is one of the most deserving tracks that needs to be back on there. So having that and another Italian team, it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
And if Flavio Briatore was the principal of that team, oh man.
Yeah. So
you
go ahead,
just have so much. Obviously, you just have so much potential for it.
yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
And they were talking about a few months ago. They were talking about that Alfa Romeo could be like the successor of Sauber. Like if Sauber went under, you know,
sure,
you know, freaking Alfa Romeo could come in and sort of replace them in a sense, but they would just like sort of keep the base, and they would just rename them, and it would be like Sauber Alfa Romeo, or Alfa Romeo disguised as Sauber.
sure,
right?
Yeah.
Something
Just not
like that.
That's what Renault. That's what Lotus was in the past few
Sure.
years. It was
Absolutely.
it was Renault, but it was disguised. So.
Yeah, it would be awesome if that happened, but it's going to take a while before that ever occurs. I mean, right now it's just conjecture and banter, but I hope so badly that they would come in, because the junior Ferrari team, having that actually, you know, serve as like the driver development team almost for Ferrari, would be really cool. Number one. The interesting thing to watch, I think, would be what would happen to Haas.
Yeah.
In that, because I think Haas may get the cord cut and they have to go out on their own.
And what's also interesting is what I've heard too is Gene Haas is really trying to get, and Liberty Media now is really trying to get more involvement with the United States, and that means another U.S. team. And there has been, you know, rumors floating around that they're trying to get Penske back in the sport. Yeah. And having Penske come back, I think would just be, I think they'd be extremely good.
They would.
I think they hit the ground running. I think they would be around a Williams just because of how much experience they have in open wheel, and then the money. And they're just, they own IndyCar. Right. I mean, Penske is the Mercedes of IndyCar.
Right.
So I think maybe that opens up to there, and then you got two more teams.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
I think with Liberty Media, I definitely think exposure in the U.S. is going to go up. I think more venues. There's talk of a Las Vegas Grand Prix.
Yeah,
That's right at your back door.
Yeah, I probably won't be living here by that point. But I mean, it is a cool concept. I'm actually not that big of a fan of it.
Yep.
Just because this circuit's going to be boring. It's going to be cool to go through the casinos on the strip, but it's gonna be another Baku. So it's and it's right here. I'm just telling. Every time I would buy a plane ticket and buy the ticket to go to Dakota every year.
Yep.
I would do that instead of going to the Las Vegas race.
Sure.
Just bring back Indianapolis. I'm sorry. Just bring it back.
That would be cool to bring.
Just have it.
I'm not a fan of the circuit.
I'm not either.
But being at the Brickyard, being at the Brickyard as it is just ridiculous. I mean, there's not many other circuits that have that much history.
Every time I think of Formula One and the Brickyard, I see 6 cars on the grid. That's it. So
well, that's not the circuit's fault.
Well,
it kind of is, but
no.
But you know,
no, that was
now that's why you have Pirelli coming in with #Fit for F1.
Yeah.
Yep. So it's going to be.
It would be cool to have like one on the East Coast, one on the West Coast, 2 tracks. You know,
I want bring it back to Watkins Glen, dude.
Well, I would love
Glen would be ridiculous, and that's one of the most unforgiving circuits.
Dude, I don't think that would ever happen because they still have that metal guard railing. I mean, they really have not changed that track much for safety.
And I mean, they brought it back for IndyCar this year. So I really want they could modify it, but I don't know. Watkins Glen would be amazing.
Watkins Glen in a rain-filled race would be absolutely sick.
I mean, have 6 cars finishing that race.
It'd be like Brazil on steroids.
It would. But anyways,
didn't U.S. Grand Prix in like the 70s or 80s wasn't it held in like Michigan or Detroit something?
Detroit.
I think we had one in Detroit. I knew in the
it
90s.
Jumped.
Yeah,
back then it jumped a lot between cities.
Yeah.
I didn't know that they had a question on the Grill the Grid that F1 does. I think it was the finale with Palmer, Saints, and Kvyat. What country hosted the most F1 races in different venues?
Mm-hmm.
And it was the United. I picked the UK, but it was the United States.
Yeah.
Because I know it's been to Detroit, it's been to Phoenix, it's been Indianapolis. I know they used to do it at Watkins Glen, Long Beach.
Didn't they do one in Las Vegas before?
I thought they did one in Las Vegas. They did one in Dallas.
Coda. It's been everywhere.
Oh yeah, it's been everywhere.
US. Yeah.
New York as well. In New York as well.
If they do a race on the West Coast, they have to go to Laguna Seca.
Oh my God.
That would right? I mean, it's one of the most well-known tracks, the Corkscrew. I mean, if you're going West Coast, that would be hard to ignore.
Yeah, Laguna Seca would be sick.
Yep.
Which that Corkscrew, I don't know if those F1 cars could handle that. Like that's more of that's more of a touring car thing. That suspension, I think, would not. I mean, it's gonna last, but losing that much downforce like that.
I think you'd see a lot of corner cuts a la X-Matty G.
Yeah.
A la Lewis Hamilton. What? Nope.
No.
But,
I just said Brazil corner cut. The grass.
That's right. But all right, guys. Toms, go ahead.
Can they can do one more thing with Liberty Media. They need to make something like something similar to NBA League Pass, where you can buy a subscription and you can get the race in HD.
I think they I think they mentioned that as one of their selling points that they kind of want to do is to really have like a Netflix kind of subscription that you just subscribe and it's going to be live kind of deal when it races and it's going to have content.
Yeah, they need to do it because it would make it approachable for more people. A lot of guys they would love to watch Formula One. I know in Europe you can't even watch Formula One everywhere. You need to have like a cable or satellite so you can watch the one in Germany on RTL, or in the UK they have to pay freaking good amount of money to watch it from Sky Sports.
Yep.
Right.
Because the ones on Channel 4, I think it is right now, they don't show every single race. And when they show them, some of them are shown like hours after the race is over,
Right.
which is not really cool in my opinion. So
No,
they
we are pretty spoiled here in the U.S. with NBCSN.
Latvia as well. We have access. We have
Yeah.
We have one with Latvian commentators. You don't even have adverts in the middle of races. You can watch every single lap live. I freaking love that. Yeah, but a lot of guys, a lot of countries, like if we mentioned Tiamat Marduk, like he talked about how you can in Australia, big ass country in Australia with a great driver in Daniel Ricciardo, and they don't really have a smooth access to Formula One.
Sure.
That shouldn't be the case. And if you want to make more fans involved in Formula One, or you want to bring back the old fans, yes, obviously at the end of the day it comes down to what is produced on the track.
Sure.
But you still need some, a source where you can watch it.
Got to spend money to make money.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Well, this is the second time I'll plug an article, and I apologize. But what Tom's is talking about, yeah, what Tom's is talking about though is exactly what I wrote about preseason and how F1 was killing itself basically, and what I discussed was, in fact, the Sky Sports deal that got signed with how much someone has to pay to be able to see F1 just in the UK, and the viewership numbers worldwide and how they were down. So, I mean, hopefully what Liberty Media can do is come in and give F1 a big boost worldwide and do things like what Tom's is saying. And I hope it also leads to more, just from a US-based perspective, I hope it leads to more title sponsors for Haas and if Penske comes in.
Yeah.
Because, I think that would be good for them too. But, yeah. Absolutely. But, all right, guys. Do we want to wrap up our Christmas special and put a bow on it?
Yeah.
See what I did there?
Pun.
Yep, you're welcome. But, all right. Well,
I think that's it.
Hope you all have a very Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays, and stay tuned because there's going to be more articles. We are definitely looking at doing the video podcast. We're going to work on getting audio off of these two and still uploading to SoundCloud for people who want to listen when they're on the go. But we are definitely excited about the new year, and we will talk to you guys again soon. Hope you have a good week.
All right, peace out.
See you guys.